Right. Hi guys, welcome back to the second instalment of All Things Golf with myself, Jacob Hunter, and Chris Harrison. Trust you're well. Bit of a weird time. Today, as we promised, we're gonna bring a special guest onto the program. Today we've got Ben Welch from Titleist. How you doing, Ben?
Morning, Jacob. Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Stuff.
Very special.
Yeah, very special guest. Do you want to just introduce yourself, Ben, and tell us what you kind of do with your roles down at Titleist at the moment?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I've been at Titleist now 8 years, following an attempt at playing the game for a number of years. And really just started there as a fitter, progressed through to sort of a junior sales role, to a sales role, which is where I started looking after you guys, and then gone on to be our key account manager for a few years. So, involved in the business, still in at the moment. Some of the guys are unfortunately obviously away with what's going on. Just been there for about 8 years. So it's been good fun. I've enjoyed it. Lots of learning.
Good. Yeah, good stuff. So you mentioned obviously you had a little bit of a background in play, and talk us through that to start with. When did that start? When did that kind of finish? What happened during that time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long story. I'm not going to bore you with all of that, Jacob. But from
Go
the age
way
of
back.
about 12,
Go way back.
from the age of about 12, it was at that. I distinctly remember a point where I was like, right, that's it. This is what I want to do. I want to play golf, and it was all I wanted to do for a long, long time. So yeah, started through junior golf.
Where were you like a junior?
I was based at Weymouth, which is where my family grew up. So I was playing down there. I say started at the age kind of 8, 9. Started having sort of junior coaching without being a member, and then progressed. I think I joined just before my 10th birthday. So I got pretty good quick as a junior. I think it was in sort of county training and stuff like that by the age of 13, 14. So from then on, I pretty much dedicated myself to it for a long time after that. So progressed through the junior stuff, played club, county, went on to play for England boys, played 3 years for England men, and then kind of turned pro. I did move when I was 16, moved down to Cornwall, played at St Mellion for a while, so I was down there for a bit.
Was that Darren Gass? Did you work with him?
Yeah, so I worked with Gassy. Yeah, he coached me then. I mean, I'd still call him coach now, really.
Yeah.
Having a lesson for probably 15 years, but that's how I'd look at it.
Still.
Darren was brilliant and really helped my game, really supported me down there, and it was really, really good for me to hook up with him. He's a great coach.
Yeah, he's done great things with TGC and stuff, hasn't he, down there, Tournament Golf College?
Yeah.
Certainly, like, growing, isn't it, for sure? It's he's done.
A couple of people from our area have kind of gone there over the last 5 or 6 years, haven't they?
Yeah, it's great for like someone who might not want to commit to fully sort of overseas college in America and stuff. Like, you're kind of close by, that you get a bit, access to playing and that kind of thing. It's he's certainly done pretty impressive work down there, isn't he? It's pretty good.
Yeah. They're sort of 2 or 3 months out in Portugal now in the winter as well, which wasn't part of the curriculum, unfortunately, when I was in it. It was a slightly different setup. I was at a different college. This kind of happened just, I think, maybe a year or 2 after I left.
Oh, right. I see, yeah.
So I went down there. Yeah, I went down to study. It was part of Dutchy College, which was actually a course by people. It did adapt slightly and become a different thing. But Darren, my link up with Darren was probably more through, we used to use St Mellion as our golf course that we played out of. And it come from that. His link up with TGC is slightly different. But the sounds of it and what I've seen from that course and experienced some of it, they spend their winters at Amendoiro over in...
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure, to be honest, but it rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah, so great learning for those guys. So I had some time down there and then decided to turn pro 2001, 2003. Went to tour school, European tour school, kind of 6 times, but ultimately played most of my golf on Euro Pro, EPD Tour, which is kind of a German satellite tour equivalent to Euro Pro. Had maybe 10, 15 challenge tour starts in that period as well. But probably never really hit the heights in that section of my career that I did as an amateur, if I'm honest. And ultimately, I think anybody aspiring to play the game for a living is trying to get to the European Tour, and that didn't happen for me. So I mean, there comes a time when you've probably got to move on from there. But
you had a bit of an injury, didn't you, during that kind of period that kind of halted that a little bit?
Yeah, I did at the end, and to be honest, it probably just made it. Well, if I say it forced my hand, it was a wrist injury, but it did force my hand in putting that stop in there, really, for me. It'd been a while, and it wasn't. I'd had some successes, and it had been good. But I think it's probably hard for any player when you've set your whole life around doing something and making it to the European Tour and playing there was what I wanted to do. And you don't quite get there, but you're close, and you've got lots of people you've played lots of golf with playing it, and you can see them on the telly and they're doing their thing. Some of them, they're all great players, but some of them you would definitely walk onto the first tee and offer them a game for a tenner.
Yeah.
It's knowing, is there a right time to walk away? And there's so many stories about people that almost quit the game that then go on to great successes and things like that. So I think it's probably a really hard decision for anybody that's got close to achieving some of their goals. And I certainly some of mine, but maybe not my ultimate goal, to know when to call it a day and when to stop. And the wrist injury for me was just, was kind of quite helpful in some ways for me to go, right, and I need to look at something else, because ultimately it stopped me from practicing. I could play golf, but I couldn't go on the range or stand chipping for any period of time without causing it damage and it swelling up again. So
So then, like within that, then from after your playing days, you then said your first role with Titleist was out doing demo days, fitting days. Was that?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So I started on. We had
with
4 guys covering the Southwest. Titleist had helped me out quite a lot when I was playing, so I knew many of these sort of employees and got a break really through that relationship that I had with them. I started fitting for the Southwest. So there was only 4 of us, so at the time that kind of covered everything from Dorset down to Cornwall. I think I did all of Wales as well at the start, some of Birmingham. So I say Southwest, it wasn't really, but
pretty fast.
Big area. Yeah, and Chuck was the track man and a van full of goodies.
And then coming from a player into fitting, and then from fitting into like the sort of sales role now is quite a good sort of baseline. Do you think that's really helped with your sort of sales experience now?
I do. I think golf's a unique industry, and you've got to remember that that most of the people that any of the brands in the industry deal with day to day are golf people. They're PGA pros, and I think that certainly within the Southwest as well, I knew a lot of the pros, and I think walking in and having that, being able to have that relationship straight away, where we probably already play golf with each other or know each other through the game, and I guess there's there's an element of respect there. I guess if they know you can play the game, certainly if you're talking about products. You kind of know your onions, and
especially if you've used it and people know of you and your sort of playing reputation, and it's like people coming and having a lesson, isn't it, Jacob? Really, like want to know that you can play and are able to play, and that's quite interesting, isn't it?
So, kind of moving on from that. Looking back at those days where you were fitting, Ben, how long ago was that? Did you start that?
So 2012, 13, 14. I was 3 years. I was kind of fitting for it.
So how much, from your experience, do you think that kind of side of the game has changed in those last 6, 7, 8 years? Because obviously technology's come a lot. TrackMan's quite prominent in the game these days. Has it changed much?
It has. I was sent out with a TrackMan in year 1 that I was doing it. So I was kind of, I come on board just as the whole TrackMan revolution kind of kicked in, I guess. And I'd imagine my answer to this question would be really different if I'd been fitting maybe 3 or 4 years prior to when I started.
For sure.
And the guys were just there with a try this club, or which one do you like the look of? That one, perfect, go with it. It's already all about the numbers and about maximising some of the TrackMan numbers that you want to see to get the best performance for players. It's developed from there, massively. And I know Chris was on a chat we did recently at Titleist with some of our foremost pros, obviously Broadstone, one of those. So Chris and Adi joined in. I'm not sure if you were on actually, Jacob, but it was with two of our tour fitters, Liam McDougall and who looks after kind of long game fitting, and Will Harvey is our Vokey specialist on the European tour. And listening to the level of knowledge those guys have and the way they go around their fits is so different to what we still do on the road. But certainly back then, the advances were
it's just a level of detail that goes into that sort of type style of fitting. I think probably as a retailer, we're probably better than most in terms of the details that we go into. But yeah, I think someone asked Liam, like, what would a normal driver fitting look like to start? What would you start with? And it was like, before the guy's even hit a shot, it's like he's got every bit of information about it. They've looked at stats, like the stuff he was talking about like the stats packages and stuff. So presumably there's somebody at Titleist or Titleist sort of outsource a stats package where they look at each individual staff player's performance each week, and then obviously they'll go and if you've had a wedge fit, if someone's had a wedge fit in 1 week and then they've lost strokes gained, or their strokes gained inside 120 yards is bad, then they'll go, okay, well there's obviously something wrong with that wedge fit. So the next week when they go out and see him, Liam will go, I saw your wedge performance last week. It wasn't quite right. What can we do to sort of dial that in? We obviously missed something, or that kind of stuff. And same, someone goes out, you can't hide behind it, can you? That's the amazing thing about those tour players. You can't then go and hide away from your stats. If the stats are there to see you fit the driver and then you've not hit a fairway the next week, then obviously something's not right with the fitting. So it's being armed with that and looking at that kind of more from like our members' perspective. That is possible to do. Like, it would be a big investment, but like the player would obviously have to be involved. Obviously would have to be involved and on board with it as well. But how good would that be? Go and keep your stats for a week or 2 weeks or 4 rounds, 5 rounds, then we'll fit you a driver off of that, knowing, being armed with it a little bit more,
It'd be really key, Chris. I think that's probably one, back to Jacob's point, one of the big changes I think in fitting, the way it has adapted is, first off, we use TrackMan, and if I'm honest, day one out with it, I was just using it as a way to go, right, how far did that go? Was it further than the last one? Whereas as time went on, you then start using it to be able to look at, right, actually, what is this player's delivery? How does he present in the golf club to the ball? And given that, set of parameters, what is the best we can expect, and where should we be trying to change things? No different to what they're then doing with stats. And you're right, there's, one of the guys that's fit on tour for us is certainly working, and done fitting days for you guys, is now working towards helping players, maybe just be proactive with players for them to understand maybe where their equipment is letting them down slightly or where they can make improvements. That's definitely something that's happening. I think one of the things you'll see in all of your fits is when guys come in and ladies come in and they start hitting shots, and you ask them, what they're looking for, or what's their normal shot shape, or how far do they hit the golf ball. Like, the amount of time that those answers are accurate to the truth is few and far between, right? So actually, if they can keep stats, and say you've got a 15 handicap player, they keep a good set of stats, and I'm sure you can help them with the programs. When they present those stats to you and they say, right, I want to get down to 12, I think improving my driving is the way to do it. You can have a delve in and say, actually, your driving for is already at the level we would expect for a 12 handicapper. It's your putting or it's your chipping, whatever it might be, to actually work on the areas that are important for that player to improve if they really want to hit whatever their goals are.
Yeah, good.
I reckon sort of with it, within the industry, regarding your question, Jacob, regarding fitting, I think kind of just the accessibility is a lot higher, isn't it? There's a lot more people doing fitting. The process, a lot of people kind of, when they come into our studio and stuff, they look around and they're amazed at like how much stuff there is. And obviously we've got it decked out so it well, it is a lot of stuff, but obviously we've got it presented in the fact that it is impressive to go and look at.
Shows it, yeah. Yeah.
But the process of it is exactly the same as it always has been. The way that we will check a ball flight or look at a ball flight, try and help a ball flight, where we can. That's the same as it always has been. It's just now you can do it kind of quickly and put a head together in a couple of seconds, whereas before, you would go and have to play a couple of rounds of it and then go and ask your pro again to build another one, essentially. And it would, just that whole process would take like months, wouldn't it? As opposed to now where you can, it's at your fingertips. So it's, that's I guess that's the biggest kind of change, isn't it, really? But did you do much where was the kind of, how, obviously within Titleist's model, the golf ball is a massive part of it. Did you do much ball fitting? Have you done much ball fitting
we did.
Out on the road?
Probably more in my second and third years, and then actually some sort of ball education days, actually get, even past my fitting days technically where I was, we still did quite a bit of that. And the amount of times I'll be in a pro shop talking to the pro and a customer will come in, I know I've done this with you guys a number of times down at Broadstone, is a customer might walk in and you end up in a conversation with a consumer who then wants to sort of start asking questions about the products they've got, products you've got in the market. Constantly trying to support people and help players with that. We certainly did quite a bit of ball fitting. I mean, I know you guys are aware, but for the benefits of the listeners, Titleist philosophy on ball fitting would always be green to tee. We'd work backwards. And there's not necessarily ever, this is the ball for you, you can't play anything else, because there are so many preference choices a golfer might have as well, in terms of the feel of their golf ball, the flight they want to see out of it, or the price point of the golf ball as well. All of those things are going to come into that equation when somebody's deciding what purchase they're going to make and what product they want to play. All of that kind of comes into it. So we typically give golfers an idea of what golf ball we think will work best, and maybe a second best option as well, and then get them to go out on the golf course and really try those products, understanding that short game is where you're really going to save most shots with a correct.
Sorry, Ben. I think that's a really good point. Titleist are actually very good in what they do with that. They do have a golf ball to fit pretty much most golfers. They've got quite a long or quite a large kind of product portfolio in that golf ball kind of market. So there's always a golf ball out there that I know I can put into someone's hands if they ask for slightly higher ball flight, slightly softer feel, more spin, less spin, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's that's a really good thing that Titleist do.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And we've got what we'd call premium performance balls. We've got the Pro V1, the Pro V1X, and the AVX golf ball. All Eurofin cover, premium performance golf balls. And then moving on from that, we've got the Tour Soft, which was an introduction a few years ago, kind of took over from where the NXT was in our lineup. The Velocity and the True Feel, which kind of replaced DT golf balls in the past. So there's 6 balls in the range, 3 premium performance, 3 that we'd kind of class as performance golf balls. And for us, premium performance is always where if a golfer wants to play their absolute best golf, we would push them towards one of those 3 golf balls because of the short game control that you get with those balls. You're always going to, I think it's always going to be easier for somebody to shoot lower scores playing one of those products. And then between the 3 of those, like you say, Jake, you're exactly right. We have a lower flight out of the AVX and a higher flight out of the Pro V1X versus where Pro V1 would be in the middle from a flight perspective. And then going into sort of spin, Pro V1X would be the highest, Pro V1 in the middle, and AVX would be the lower spin. More when you talk to irons into short game than what we'd see out the driver. And then a feel perspective, they're all going to be different again. Pro V1X being the firmest, AVX being the softest, and Pro V1 being in the middle. So Pro V1's kind of our go-to, and then you'll see some sort of players move either side to
variation,
of Pro V1X and AVX.
I think the biggest thing with at consumer level or at our level within the shop is kind of the thing that we hear most is that it doesn't make a difference to me, or I lose them too quickly. It doesn't make a difference to me, and versions of that kind of answer basically. And it's really frustrating because especially if they're guys that we've taught, or you go and have a fitting. Like now, having the studios really help, because now at least you can introduce the question of what ball you're using, and then sow the seeds for how important that part of it is. But it is frustrating, especially, like I say, if they've invested in buying new equipment, but then they'll use any old golf ball. It's kind of backwards, really, when you think about the classic tagline of the golf ball being the only bit of equipment you use on every shot. And I think the reason people respond like that mainly is because they feel that they picture a golf ball fitting being a fitting that allows them to only hit good shots with one type of golf ball, and they'll hit bad shots with every other type of golf ball, and they don't buy into that. But obviously that's not true. But the way that I try and sort of pitch it is just like, everybody who comes for a lesson, one of the main things, and for fits, is that they want consistency. That's the number one thing people will tell us when they come for a lesson. I just want to be more consistent, just want to hit it straighter, just want it to go the same distance, whatever it may be, just need more consistency. And they'll go and use a inconsistent golf ball every single time. So that would be my first
use it.
It takes away using the same ball every time. Doesn't have to be, obviously, from Ben's perspective, like being a Pro V1 is your ideal situation, and we would always encourage people to start within the Titleist range, I would say, because it is so complete. You've, like Jacob says, you've got one to hit every sort of box. But whatever you do, just use the same ball every time, because it takes away that element of doubt, doesn't it? If I've gone and putted really well one week and then use a different ball and putt really badly, I'm coming off the golf course thinking, I wonder if it was the ball that I used this time or last time.
It might be one of the easiest things that a golfer could control themselves to become more consistent.
Probably,
in my opinion.
Yeah, probably.
It is. Yeah. People turn up, and you two guys are both great coaches, and they're paying money trying to buy a consistent swing, which, with the greatest will in the world, will never happen. But they can buy a consistent product.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I heard a lot of when I was out doing ball fitting was that I don't think people really appreciate the difference in product and the difference in different golf balls. Even say within the Titleist range, if you take somebody into your studio and get them to make their 50-yard pitch swing and switch the golf ball from a Pro V1 to a Velocity, you're going to see really big differences in terms of how those golf balls launch, their land angle, and the amount of spin predominantly as well will be a big factor of difference in those two products. And I think when golfers really can see how different those two products are, understanding that the same swing is producing different results, at that point sometimes the light bulb goes on and they go, okay, so I need to know which one of these golf balls I'm playing to know how I can play this shot. Otherwise, consistency will never be there. And once you understand that, it's not necessarily the wrong thing to do, whichever one of those golf balls you choose, to say, right, I'm going to choose the Velocity or choose the Pro V1 for whatever your circumstances may be. But understanding that if you play that golf ball every time, back to your point about stats as well, how do you know that those stats are consistent if you're changing that product all the time? So many things that are going on. So at least sticking with one and taking a variable out with your golf ball will allow you to then isolate the data and understand that it's not my golf ball changing that's causing those results to change. It must be me, or whatever you work it out to be. I think it's really important. So playing the same golf ball every time is the first thing we would suggest somebody to do.
Yeah, as long as it's the time.
Nice. So kind of looking on the broader perspective in the product kind of range, Ben, we're in the second year of TS Woods at the moment, aren't we? Is that correct?
Yeah, second year TS product. So typically you would
go on, Carol.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, how's it gone for you this year? Is it all gone really well? I think they've performed great in our studio.
Yeah, this year probably, in recent times, obviously not so much. For obvious reasons, but TS has been a great product for us. Ever since it came out, it's been fantastic. The guys have all enjoyed working with it from a fitting perspective. I know our fitters have enjoyed working with it at club level, you guys. But it's been a really good product for us. Our tour players have loved the product. Almost, all of them put it in the bag very quickly. It was quick adoption to that, and it's been really good. I think we've had 7 wins. Obviously, the PGA Tour's locked down like the rest of us, but before we got there, we'd already had 7 wins on the PGA Tour with TS products in this season. So it's performing great for those guys. It's been the number 1 driver on the US Tour for some time now.
And do you see the TS driver and woods going into players' bags that perhaps haven't got a sponsorship deal with Titleist? Are people go into those by choice as well?
Yeah, there absolutely has been some of that. I think European Tour, and I think this harks back to Liam and how good he is from a fitting perspective and his relationship with some of those players that we've absolutely seen. Yeah, usage of Titleist drivers go up. With the introduction of TS since that's been out there. So.
That's going to be such a tricky kind of period. I mean, obviously, it's not a kind of secret that TS has been out for a couple of years, and I think the sort of general Titleist timeline is always kind of seeding it out on tour and getting it out and getting a new product out on tour. Maybe if there is a new product kind of potentially due round the corner kind of thing, and the PGA Tour isn't playing and the European Tour aren't playing any golf, going to be a pretty difficult sort of script to write, isn't it, with any new products coming out?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a tour validation of all of our products. It's part of our history. It's kind of always happened at Titleist, and I think and hope it always will do. So yeah, we've got to build that into sort of considerations. The decisions being made are obviously way above my level at the moment in terms of that sort of stuff. But yeah, back to kind of TS, and one of the stats that I thought was really significant for us with TS last year came from the European amateur tournament over in Austria. And when you look at the amateur events, obviously those guys aren't paid; they can't have contracts to get money for playing products. So it is a free choice. And whenever we see players with free choice, we know our golf ball count will always tend to go up. But there were actually 50% of the field playing a TS driver or a Titleist driver at the European Amateur last year. And when I saw that was a big change to me. They're numbers we haven't seen for a long time, probably back to when I was an amateur, and Titleist were kind of more of a go-to golf club back then. Maybe it had been in recent years for some of those players, but certainly TS is to help change that again for us in the metal category.
Yeah, it certainly holds itself up, doesn't it? Speed-wise, tend to see always really quick club speeds and ball speeds out of it, and it's got always got the sure fit system, such a good system. You're covering all bases with the 4 models, aren't you? Different weights. TS1 obviously being your lighter, and TS4 kind of heavier, lower spinning. It kind of hits every category, doesn't it? So.
It does, and I think that's important as well, Chris, because when players come in to see you, you haven't got all day to spend with them. Which back to your analysis of Liam's kind of tour fit and how he would start a driver fit. He obviously has some good time to spend with these players. If you've got a player coming in and you've been working in the shop for 4 hours and all of a sudden you've got an hour fitting session, you don't always have that opportunity. So one of the things I think the TS range does, the 4 drivers, like you say, TS1 through to 4, I think it helps you fit that product quicker to that player. You're not needing to make such big adjustments to a head. Because you've already got built into the selection you choose from one of those, something that's going to be really pretty close for a player to start with, and then it's a case of dialing it in after that. So if someone wants a Titleist driver, that you can fit them a Titleist driver, because whereas there might be other products that you think, not sure if that's going to work for them, but there's going to be a head there that should work. Yeah, and to that point, that's ultimately what we're trying to do, creating products for dedicated golfers. And not every dedicated golfer swings and delivers a golf club the same. They could be a 15 handicap player, they could be a +4 player, vastly different club speeds and requirements. So it's about catering and making sure we've got a club there that's going to be right for each of those players.
Nice. Sweet.
So obviously irons are great. Obviously irons have always been good. I've always liked the look of the Titleist irons, but kind of changed the name of those this year, didn't Titleist? They kind of went away from their standard AP line and moved into the T range. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the name change was predominantly driven from we had AP1 and AP2, which obviously found since kind of 2008 when the AP series started. We introduced AP3. You'll remember with 718. So AP3, in terms of where it sat in our product range, was kind of in between AP2 and AP1. And there was a kind of an AP1 and 2, added together equals AP3 thing. But I think golfers maybe didn't understand AP3 as well as we'd like them to. So I think with the launch of the new product, it just gives us an opportunity to set out kind of the range again as where we were. So yeah, you're absolutely right. T series, we've got the T100, 200, 300 that we launched with. We've recently made some more introductions to that range with the T100S and the T400. They've kind of been released whilst we're in lockdown, so golfers are going to have the chance.
SM8 and the new Scotties have had a tough ride, haven't they? It's like amazing new set of amazing new range of wedges and some new irons and putters, and literally no one's
waiting to be hit.
Yeah, sad.
Yeah, the golfers should be pretty excited to try some Titleist product when they can get back, obviously, to the golf course.
Yeah,
the new irons, and no different for me. I've got my set of T100S downstairs ready to go as soon as we can get back out. And however long I think I work in this industry, new product for me is the same as it was when I was that 12-year-old kid. I love it. I get excited, the same as the rest of us, to go out and try it and see how it can help my games.
Saying the other day, like my new wedges arrived like a couple of days before, and they've been absolutely pounded out we've got a little green out the back, and not a proper green, like a communal green thing, and I've just been like hammering wedges out there. I've must have been like thousands and thousands. They're battered, and they've not even been on the golf course yet. Yeah. Not even hit a shot.
So we're really excited to see what we had a little bit of time, I think, with T400 maybe over in the US, where some players had got a bit more of a chance. We'd had some feedback. T400, to give you an idea, it's kind of a TS1 driver kind of iron, if you like. So it's that lighter product, maybe designed for golfers with slightly slower club head speeds to help them generate more speed and maximise distance out of the product. So really cool product. It's kind of a product Titleist haven't had before in the iron range. So we're really excited to see how that goes.
Just a proper beast.
I think that iron would actually be quite beneficial to a lot of golfers, especially, well, not especially at Broadstone, but a lot of higher handicapper golfers. I think it would be pretty cool to get that in their hands.
Yeah, for sure. I certainly. I've like going back to the irons. I've just really enjoyed my T100s. Like I've always been a kind of AP2 player. Well, not always, but like historically, I've had 2 or 3 sets of AP2s, and I loved my AP2s last year and changed into T100s, and it was like the easiest fit. We were up at Burr Hill and did like a training day. It was like the easiest fit the guys ever had, because I was like, I love those AP2s. Like just change them to those, basically put a T100s in exactly the same spec, and just like loved them from right as soon as I kind of picked them up. Really, I've just got it's probably one of the happiest. I'm gonna cry in a minute, but it's gonna be one of the
And just walking away from that fit was really easy, Chris, right? And you walked away going, I'm confident that they're the right product.
I don't think I've been happier with the sort of setup in my bag for a long time. So it's they've been great, really fun. So that's cool.
I saw some wins over the Winter Series for you.
In a couple of majors.
Don't like to mention it.
Just out of shot, there's a little selection of my trophies just around the corner there. I would say.
The rewinds on Sky Sports later, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing. They asked me to do a talk along thing, and they put it on the side.
Chronicles of a champion golfer.
Yeah. Loads of like slow mo's of me like sweating over a 4-footer on the last to shoot 2 under to beat like Jonesy or something.
That this all ends up with the board in the clubhouse at Carnoustie, like every story, right?
Yeah, every single time.
You brought it up last week.
I brought it up last week, yeah.
You brought that up, not me.
Whose name are you next to? I haven't heard this one before.
Ben Hogan's, just Ben Hogan.
Oh yeah,
and,
just Ben Hogan.
A couple of others, Harrington.
When everyone's at their best.
Not bad.
Well, no, that's great. Welshie, thanks for coming on, and we'll see what feedback we get out of it, and I'm sure we'll get some more questions and stuff coming in, and yeah, really appreciate your time, and
Thanks,
really catch up and see. I was saying, are you sure there's not a tailor-made head cover in that bag behind you?
I can guarantee it, mate. It's all there.
Ooh.
There's definitely a couple of little special toys in there.
We should have to do a what's in Ben's bags.
Ben's bag.
You'll need more than 45 minutes for that one, unfortunately. Number of golf clubs, unfortunately, over the years.
Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Right, cool. Thanks for that again, mate. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you again soon when all this when this nightmare is over and we'll get back out on the road and catch up. And
yeah, pleasure, chaps. Yeah, that would be great. I saw a picture, Ed. I think it was yourself actually, or no, one of the Golf Monthly photographers stuck up a picture.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kevin Patrick Murray.
That's it. Kev Murray put it up, and yeah, I saw that, and that definitely got the GC Slaying to want to come down for a game again. It seems.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Get something sorted.
Yeah, nice one.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Cheers for that. Thanks, Welshie. See you later. Take care.
Cheers, guys. See ya.